Hey, how you doing? I've got a mission. Tonight's live stream is about tomorrow's live stream.
It's going to be on New Hampshire Rosa Fall or Seizure at 2054.
Let's see, I have the inevitable, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. Your internet is not good enough in your neighborhood. Is internet connection is unstable.
Someone's got KU Med and Truman are your trauma centers in high volume.
There's a trauma, and I think it has something to do with the shouting. It's already happening. The Knife and Gun Club is early. Lately, these past few weeks, the theme has been mental health problems, mental illness, and how inadequate America is at funding our mental health programs that we desperately need. Recently, there's been a debate sparked because somebody, I believe, had some bravery and went with the data and not with emotions, and said we need to take some money that we keep spending on toys for police, like weapons of war like machine guns and tanks and fancy police cars, and we need to invest that money into mental health. And unfortunately, it's turned into a us against them, conservative versus liberal, yada yada, and it's none of that. What it really is I think we've kind of gotten off on the wrong foot on this. Taking some of this money and reinvesting it in community programs and mental health programs actually helps the police more than it hurts. And the police will tell you themselves, they always have said that we need more of that. Because the police being used to deal with a person who should be under the care of a doctor is very poor, inefficient use of police, and it's dangerous. It never ends well. And a great deal of these martial situations where we've called the cops to deal with a problem that should have been dealt with medicine and therapy. Now, by the time it gets to it is usually, if police have to be involved in something where somebody has gotten a hold of a weapon of some sort, then usually by this time the person has gone way over the edge and the public needs to be protected. But before it gets to that state, it would be nice if we actually had mental health programs that a lot of these people really need. And you can identify a lot of these people. If they're going to hurt themselves or others, that becomes apparent. But the way the system works now is you give people ready access to guns, but you don't give them good access to mental health care. That makes zero sense. It's really hard to keep your emotions out of it, because when somebody intends to do you harm, whether it be physical harm or whether they do things to hurt you mentally and emotionally, it's really hard to say then, well, the person is not well, they're not in their right mind. It's very easy to say if a person is just pure evil and I don't like this person, yada, yada, yada. But this is a side journey. My real goal tonight is to test out a gimbal configuration using a little adapter that I bought online. It wasn't very expensive, and I like it so much I bought 3 of them. And it's an audio adapter that attaches to my hardware. So I'm going to First Friday, and there might even be a protest happening. And this is the biggest First Friday of the year, although I'm already a bit late for it. A lot of it is this afternoon. This coincides with Pride Week, and usually in the past it's been the biggest, but with the beerfluenza epidemic, who knows? It may already be all over by now. I'll wander around a little bit and see, get some exercise, test out my device, maybe go into a gallery or two. Unfortunately, I don't have the doggies with me. Tomorrow, here to do the organ. I should know that. It's for the Midwest Transplant Network, and it's going to be at Liberty Memorial. And I'm supposed to be using my live stream device, but I need to make sure it works somewhat acceptably before I go experimenting around and finding out the hard way that I need to come up with something else. And I know it's this phone on a gimbal, and the big thing is power. I tried to figure out the power situation, because you can draw power from the gimbal somehow, but I tried that and it just didn't work. Unfortunately, I have to order a cable, and I have to do some research before I order a cable and find out a $40 cable isn't going to do anything for me. That car looks a lot faster on camera than it is in real life. But here it comes. Oh, there's a Chevy Impala. Is that Impala or Biscayne? That might actually be Biscayne. Two taillights, or one taillight actually, because the other one's a backup light. 2 for Biscayne, 3 for Impala, and then a solid 3 for Caprice, which is the highest trim level. Actually, I think it's 1 for Biscayne, because the actual taillight is in one housing, then the other one is a backup light. A lot of people don't know. What's a Biscayne? Chevrolet had their largest cars, and they came in 3, actually at one time 4 trim levels. It was Biscayne, Bel Air, and no, it's 3 trim levels. Biscayne, Bel Air, and Impala. And then they got rid of Bel Air, so it became Biscayne, Impala, and Caprice. Caprice was the highest trim level, the nicest. And it's amazing. In 1970, if you bought a Caprice, it had nothing. It had cranker windows, AM radio, air conditioning are your options. Impala may have air conditioning, AM radio. But you can imagine what Biscayne would have as the lowest trim level. Biscaynes were meant to be your plain Jane fleet cars. They sold them to government agencies and I think to like rental car companies, because when you used to rent cars, they just didn't give you any frills. It's just a car. Here you go. Here's a car. And you know, and companies might buy Biscayne if, you know, they used them for like, you know, like your water service company might drive a Biscayne. I know a little bit about Biscayne because in the early 1970s, my dad bought a 1967 Chevy Biscayne, and that's what we traveled across country. He met us in San Francisco, and we arrived from Guam. My dad was Air Force at the time, to his permanent assignment at Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi. And we rode across country in a Biscayne, no air conditioning, across the desert. That was actually kind of rough. It was a straight six, no AC. It did have a radio. It was an AM radio. And cranker windows, which was all you got back in the late 60s, early 70s. And a lot of the trim options actually were related to engine choices. Like the Biscaynes had your 6 cylinders. Ours was a 6-cylinder with a 3-speed manual transmission shifted on the column, which we used to refer to as 3 on the tree. But if you wanted to, you could get a Biscayne, you could get a hot rod Biscayne. You could order all the way up to 409 cubic inch engine, I believe. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know my engines that well. But you could get one that was pretty much a sleeper hot rod. Factory sleeper hot rod. You can pull up next to somebody in a Biscayne, and the thing about those cars, very big and very heavy. They were full frame cars, which means they had a halfway decent ride, although I don't seem to remember our Biscayne having that great a ride. That probably is due to very plain Jane basic suspension. And but they were the big heavy Chevys, the biggest you could buy. I remember that you could smuggle quite a few people in the trunk. I'm trying to get over. People don't necessarily want to let you. Yeah, it's let's just say that the trunk in those cars is bigger than some of the small pickup trucks payloads. And I believe the payload on those cars is probably bigger, you know, with a full frame car with a pretty decent sized engine. You could haul a lot in those cars. But you pay for it. Mileage. Mileage was, I think even with the 6-cylinder, I doubt if you get 13, 14 miles a gallon. Big cars. They pay the length, I think, was about 17, 18. And then a full frame in the chassis. They weren't unibodied at all. They didn't lighten them up in any way, shape, or form. Because back then, it was more about ride and comfort. Now I don't remember riding in the Impalas. We did when I was in driver's ed in high school. We had a Impala. What was it? It may have been a Caprice, 1973, 74. And that's when they got as big and as heavy as they ever got. They were weighted down, and then they a lot of things that had been no, not considered standard were standard, like air conditioning. You could not, I don't think you could order the 1970s Impala Caprice without with a 6-cylinder engine in it. Just, it wouldn't pull those heavy cars. They were as fat as they ever got. And that's what we drove in driver's ed, and we considered that thing a tank. I guess the ride was pretty nice. It was like that, no road feel. It was like you felt like you were driving in a cloud. The 1970s Impala Caprices are not very known for. That was past the hot rod days. It was all about as luxurious a Chevy as you could buy. And I think by the early 70s, they may have had a Biscayne, but if they did, it was very, very rare. I think by 1973, 74, your trim choices were Impala and Caprice. I should go in that way. I don't know. We'll see how busy this is. I don't know if it's. That's not the one I want. And that's going to take me right into. Man, it has been so long since I've been here. I can't even remember how to get around. Let's see if we can make it before that postal truck kills us all. Good luck in finding parking. That is a homemade camper van made out of a conversion van. I can tell by the vent. Oak and steel. There's a little bar in there. Yeah. Not too busy. I sort of thought, the beer fluenza is really knocked things down. There used to be this street right here. This street would be full, even at this time of night. And let's turn right here. You could not make a right-hand turn here. And now, Deadsville. But the Bower is closed. This is the former site of YJ's. Looks like they're not open. There's a new business in there that's pretty interesting, I guess. They make and sell
This party is not believed to be in the area.
their own ceramics.
I think the suspect in the harassment call, he's going to have full intersection rating. White male, red hair, I'm going to tell him in the call. Just run from. Thank you.
I don't know what this guy on the motorbike is doing. trying to get himself run over. I think he didn't like somebody honking at him. He in his own little world. Yeah, see if we can make a Leroy here. Yeah. Well, I was okay until somebody kicked over the anthill. All right, nose out here, and scooters. Up, down is busy. Even this street is not as packed. What is that? Hare Krishnas? Now, the center of gravity of this place may have shifted around because out of that building where YJ's used to be, it may not be as, that was a huge attraction to that street, West 18th. And so the center of gravity may have shifted away from West 18th and more towards the east and south here. Of course, it's after 9, and Leedy is shut down. They close at about 9 on first Fridays. I don't know what their hours are normally. Here's Mean Street. And we're going to take a Ralph here on 18th. See what's going on down that way. And then I'll find a place to park and wander around a bit with my gimbal and see how it works. This is a New World on the other side of the Beerfluenza. Don't know if several things have happened besides the Beerfluenza. This area through here was full of food trucks, and first Friday, 2019, June, some crumb bum decided he couldn't hold his anger and started shooting at people after a fight, and he killed an innocent girl who was just standing there waiting to get food. That's how we kind of allow the worst of us to, again, mental health issue. I'm sure it's somebody who's had what would you say, attachment disorder.
Real 5 and quarter.
Probably not much of a childhood. They're the fire people, whatever you call them. The people who play with fire over here to the right. I see some families out. Yeah, I know definitely through here these streets would be, I think they were cordoning them off towards the end after the shooting. Not allowing people in or out without security. But, I think that put a damper on things, and now it looks like the roach coaches, as my friend would call them, are not coming back. That and the beer flu is kind of done them in. Yeah, maybe I'm right. Maybe the center of gravity is shifted more this way. Less on the west side of the crossroads and more here towards the east. A lot of businesses open up in this area. New businesses like wine bars and sports bars, and I wonder how Grinders is doing. And you know, Grinders, this is the worst night to come to a Grinders, because or if you come to any of these restaurants, you're competing with everybody. Grinders doesn't look super duper busy. All right, let's turn Leroy here.
Front door east.
They repaired the corner on this building. It collapsed.
Okay, that was for 250.
That looks like a new gallery in there.
48 minute back.
A lot has changed, and by that I don't necessarily mean places, I mean people. The people that used to be here, that kind of created a lot of this, are gone. And by that I mean gone. One in particular I'm thinking of has passed away. All right, let's take a Leroy here. All right, let's do Leroy here.
Over 5 and quarters, 2123. EMS to disregard.
That car doesn't seem to want to move very fast. He didn't signal or anything. I didn't know his intentions. What is this? Grand? Grand.
We got a call to the station about
Maybe I'm wrong.
a juvenile complaint from Price Chopper. And leave, they're being rowdy. It's all being rowdy. I'm just being good boiler is for the Price Chopper now.
Back at 18th. No, this is Oak.
That is correct.
Oh, I don't get copyright on that. It's so ridiculous. I got a real big suction cup stain on my windshield. It wouldn't be so noticeable if it wasn't for the fact I had to turn my camera upside down because of my gimbal attachment. I've got the M2, the Zhiyun M2 gimbal, which allows you to have moderate payloads, which is better than the Osmo because now I'm able to even supposedly use my camera if it's naked, and I think it has a small lens, which I need to try that sometime. Be nice if I could figure out the live streaming on this stuff, but I haven't even. The Sony app has changed, and I haven't even figured that out. They changed it, they made it worse, I think. And it wasn't great to begin with. You know, sometimes you just waste your time trying to figure out how to make things do what they really can't do very well. Sony is a great company. They're like probably the #1 builder of sensor chips for cameras in the world, and they build some good ones.
Can somebody call off duty there and give them a heads up? Looks like about, I think they know, probably about 30.
But their apps and everything aren't so great. They have the Sony Vegas suite, which is a video editing designed for their VAIO computers. I don't even know if they still do all that. I'm kind of in the wrong lane here. Oh, that's good. That's good. Don't let me. Not that I'm in the wrong lane, it's just that the lane I'm in is taken up with parking. Alright. I gotta be careful. Watch what I'm doing because you can run over somebody pretty easily. The pedestrians are got their minds and eyes and ears on other things. I was going to say, if I go up here on 18th, I bet you I could find parking fairly easily now. Over here on the west side. Oh, yep, it's a four-way. This building over here, it used to not be a four-way. Was there before? Was it a light? That building over there in the corner used to be a happening gallery and had 2 or 3 places in one, and now it's sitting empty, which is pretty common. Where the coming into the post-beerfluenza world, a lot of things that used to be here are gone, and I almost could park right behind that car over there.
Yelling for someone to get off of her.
Let's see if we can do this. Well, plenty-o. Alright, we're here. We're going to get used to it. I'm going to change over to my gimbal, so I'm going to end this stream and start it when I'm hooked up to my gimbal. So, see ya.